Some of the stress out of a daunting process. Matthew Hudson has this report.
Harry JuDD, percussionist with rock band McFly, was beating the drum for the Teenage Cancer Trust as it unveiled its new rest and relaxation facility. It's a charity close to his heart. His best friend developed cancer when they were teenagers.
He, again, like all the patients I meet through Teenage Cancer Trust, are so brave, and they're an absolute inspiration to me and to everyone, I think. But I think if he'd had those facilities, it would have made life easier for him at the time.
Perhaps they should have named it the McFly instead of the Oasis. Inside, there's a funky environment, including comfy sofas, games consoles and this stylish jukebox. There's also a complimentary therapy room and cooking facilities. It will open daily for young cancer inpatients and day patients, a morale-boosting environment to help them battle their illness. Murray Grant from Norwich developed cancer in 2007 and is currently beating it.
To be a teenager, you need your right surroundings, and the Oasis is just perfect if you want to come out from the ward and just chill.
Youngsters will also be able to meet and talk to other teenage patients, people who understand exactly what they're going through.
They're going through this similar experience, not exactly the same maybe, but they're going through similar experience, and they're always there. They listen to your stories, you listen to theirs, and then you compare them really, so that makes you feel, oh, I'm not the only one in the world going through this, there is other people.
Anglia News first met Bianca last month at the Trust's massive fundraising tennis tournament in Hunstanton, an event attended by Britain's Got Talent judge Amanda Holden, who also helps the charity. Raising cash in the current financial climate hasn't been easy, but the charity has a lot of supporters.
We've surpassed the £750,000 mark. We're heading confidently towards the £1 million. But our fundraising will continue. And yes, it is tough times at the moment. But what we're getting is a little bit from a lot of people. We've got a lot of support throughout East Anglia. And that is the way forward, I think.
Next year, the Trust will open a dedicated 10-bed teenage cancer unit here at Addenbrooke's. State-of-the-art facilities for young people, which the Trust wants to see set up in more of our hospitals. Matthew Hudson, Anglia News at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge.
Well, it's coming up to 6:15. Still to come tonight, we'll be looking ahead to the weekend's football action. Have an update on the... more news now. A convicted rapist who strangled a pensioner in Great Yarmouth while on the run from a secure hospital in London has been jailed for at least 27 years. Terence O'Keefe killed David Kemp in March last year before stealing his television to raise money for drugs. He was convicted at Norwich Crown Court in June. A teenager's in hospital after he was stabbed in Ipswich. Police and paramedics were called to Lavender Hill in the Chantry area just before 8 o'clock last night. The 17-year-old was taken to Ipswich Hospital with a punctured lung. His injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. The leader of Suffolk County Council has warned that the county faces a financial deficit of £350 million in 9 years' time. State spending in Suffolk currently amounts to around £4.8 billion every year. Meanwhile, bosses at the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital have also warned of possible spending cuts. The Chief Executive, Anna Dugdale, told the annual general meeting last night that the NHS would have to provide radical changes in services. Even so, the Norfolk and Norwich had a surplus of £7 million last year. Talks aimed at resolving a dispute between the Essex Fire Service and members of the Fire Brigades Union were cancelled today. The FBU says no explanation was given, but managers say they're concerned the FBU is looking to escalate the action. They're warning firefighters not to be swayed by what they call a few militant individuals. Now, a search for the difference has been taking place in Norfolk today. Bo, a much-loved eagle owl, has gone missing from his home in Acle. His owners, Jane and Peter, are falconers and have spent 20 years training birds of prey. They've never lost a bird before and are desperate to get Bo back. Alba Patel reports.
An unusual search party looking for a family member.
No, I haven't, no.
But it's not for a person or even a dog. It's for Bo, the missing eagle owl. He's worth more than £150 and he's been gone since the early hours of the morning, prompting a tireless search by his owners David and Jane and friend Emma, plus a few friends who can get to the awkward spots. The The rest of the family are waiting patiently back at their home in Acle in Norfolk, including Amber, who looks just like her friend Beau. David and Jane have been keeping birds of prey for around 20 years now. They have 24 in total, and losing one has been really distressing for them.
Distraught.
How attached are you to Beau?
Very.
It's like losing a child, really.
So.
I mean, you just can't explain it. If you lose a dog, I mean, they can be seen, but a bird, it can be in a tree, and with the leaves being on the trees at the moment, they're hard to spot.
David and Jane are among thousands of falconry fans up and down the country, and today I became the latest. They spend hours training, feeding and looking after their birds, and are now hoping Beau's usual spot in the garden won't be empty for long. Alpa Patel, Anglia News, Acle in Norfolk.
The upgrade of the A11 on the Norfolk-Suffolk border may have moved a step closer after plans were submitted for an underpass. The tunnel would carry a new section of dual carriageway past the Elveden War Memorial. The publication of new documents follows a campaign for an extra crossing for pedestrians, cyclists and horse riders. Work could start late next year after a full public inquiry, with the road scheduled to open in 2013. Well, next tonight, the retired teacher from Essex who's cycling around the world without leaving his front room. Mike Roots from Colchester, who's 67 years old, rides his exercise bike every day. But to make things a little more interesting, he's turned his cycling sessions into an imaginary trip, as Lauren Carter now explains.
Sun cream, sunglasses and a passport. Just some of the things you may need if you're planning a trip around the world. Or alternatively, you just need one of these. An exercise bike. Mike Roots is using his to go on an imaginary journey, which has already taken him 13 years.
If you sit on an exercise bike, it's totally boring. So I thought I'd go somewhere and have a target. And I went round the coastlines of England and I thought, well, I'll carry on round the world and see how far I can get.
So how does it work? Mike keeps a record of how many miles he travels each day. Then he works out how far it's taken him along the world's coastlines. So far, he's passed through Europe, Africa and Asia. And he's now reached South America.
He's always been very eccentric and he always tends to do all or nothing. And once he gets his teeth into something, he keeps going at it. And he's absolutely convinced that he's going to make it round the world.
Mike clocks up 150 miles a week. So it's hardly surprising that he's now got through 6 exercise bikes. Of course, it takes a lot of hard work, but he says anyone can do it.
So all you need is an exercise bike and a bit of imagination. Mike has now travelled more than 80,000 miles, which means I've got some catching up to do. Lauren Carter, Anglia News in Colchester.